Without leaps of imagination or dreaming, we lose the excitement of possibilities. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning. Gloria Steinem. Tonight is going to be about mental imagery. I've been hearing that a lot this whole week, so I do want to address it a little bit. But for those that don't know what mental imagery is, it can be defined as a picture in the mind or a visual representation in the absence of environmental input. So pretty much what it is you are using your imagination to picture an end goal, whatever it is, a want, a desire, purpose, whatever. Even though, and you picture it vividly, even though the variables are not there for you to achieve it. So it's a powerful tool. I know one person, Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was big on mental imagery, and he said it. I think it was like an Oprah interview or something like that. And he would think of it, and to the fine detail of what it was that he wanted, and he ended up achieving it. Period. He got it. So mental imagery, it's a powerful thing, and it takes mental power to do it. You have to have stamina. The brain is a muscle, and I was very big on the gym. I still am, but at one point I was a major gym rat. But if you're working out your body and you don't work out your brain, what makes the sense? Yeah, your body look tight, but that brain, it gotta get to a nice little mindset there that's gonna get you there. Your body going to get you but so far, but your mind, that's gonna get you where you need to go. But it's all about what you feel is your end goal. Mental imagery is positive conditioning, and whatever you put into yourself, whatever you listen to, whatever you watch, whoever's in your counsel that you do, they have weight. All those things are going to contribute to your success, and your end goal. And everybody has a purpose, and it's Miles Monroe, where he said that God puts your purpose in the very beginning. So he puts the end in the beginning. So when you were first conceived, that instant moment, God literally put, this is what I want you to do in life. And that was the first thing he gave you, your assignment. And this is, before literally you were born, this is what was going on, and as you're birthed, kids have a way of, their imagination is out of control. Those kids that, the floor is lava and they literally is walking around like the floor is lava, and you sitting there trying to, be agile like a cat jumping on furniture with your child, and you sitting there like, baby boy, the floor ain't lava, baby. He's like, oh yes it is, so imagination is a very powerful tool, and it is encouraged, especially in children, and it should be encouraged in adulthood. It takes on a more adult, mature form, imagination, but it should never die. Mental imagery is an asset. It's a tool in your arsenal, that is going to get you from point A to B, so God would tell you what the end goal is. Sometimes he doesn't tell you all the steps. That happens more often than not. But your mental imagery that is the key factor, in all of it. It's up to you, not to get weary, and take what is concise to the end goal. So when you really look at it, faith is mental imagery. They, tell you, lean not on your own understanding and lean to the Lord, or don't walk by faith, not by sight, so God's words to you, that's what's inside of you. It is innately born into you. And as you imagine it, you know exactly where you're supposed to be at. But some things, they taint you. They taint that picture that you had when you were 5 years old of what you wanted to be. I wanted to be a doctor. Well, keep that end goal in your head. Don't let your family or your friends or, or the counselor when you went to college, your advisor tell you what you should be and what you shouldn't be doing, But all things are used, to bring you to where you got to be. God has a way. But it is what you do, what you consume. They say you are what you eat. It's social media. It's the music you listen to. It's the people, whatever they say about you or to you, whether it's directly or indirectly. It's what you put attention to. It's what you give power to. That's going to make or break your success, So it takes discernment, and it's something that has to be practiced, because you don't know who is who, but God tells you to judge by the fruit. Something could look so great in the beginning, but you have to give it time and you have to be sharp in order for you to decipher what is what for you, So it comes a time where you prune your tree, so give yourself some time. It could whether be, 2 months, 3 months, a year, whatever. You need to see what factors are bringing you to where you need to be or what's becoming a hindrance to you. And you prune it out. You eat the meat and you spit out the bones. Old school. But you enrich yourself with purposeful things, so this way you're overall well-rounded, So definitely know thy circle. Because it is true. Those can be your demise. You can have so many bright things. God will sit there and give you a whole bunch of ideas. And you're like, oh man, I'm going to do it. And you have such a detailed plan, And that's why when they say, it's okay to dream big. But my theory is to not only dream big, but to dream detailed. Dream detailed. When you're able to, go all the way down to all the senses of your imagination. Literally, if you want to be an accountant, don't just imagine yourself saying, I'm an accountant. Imagine the suit that you're going to wear. Imagine the hairstyle you're going to have. Imagine the office that you're going to have. Imagine the stationary tools, the computer, whatever it is. Even the time, the day, the time of the year, the weather, it doesn't matter. Imagine it in detail. Because when you do that, you're able to plan it out strategically. It's smart planning. It's not just saying, I have a dream. Everyone has a dream. Everybody dreams. But what are you doing to get yourself to that point, And that takes consistency. It takes you, even if you get, you make a right when you're supposed to have made that left, it brings you back into perspective because now you have a strategic plan of, okay, well, I love brownstones. Before I die, I'm going to have me a brownstone, okay? It's going to be my nonprofit. But I have a brownstone. And I do know in order for you to have a brownstone, you're going to have some kind of bread for you to have that brownstone. It takes a lot of strategic planning in order for me to get to that step. But because I know I just don't want a halfway house. I want a brownstone that I know that I have to do X, Y, and Z in order for me to get there. Now, I could easily say I want a halfway house and have picked any house all over the country. But because I want a brownstone, that takes, it's very, it breaks it down to simplicity, where you now know every micro step. You're not looking at a macro, you're now looking at a micro, and when you have the right mindset and you have the right people around you, that's what's going to push it even further, and a lot of people, even if it takes that you got to be by yourself a little bit, learn how to be by yourself. Learn to be content with who you are, because when you accept who you are, there's nothing to be afraid of. You okay with you? You squared off with you. You and God is cool. You have nothing to worry about, And when you do meet someone, you're more aware of what you like and what you don't like, and who's going to irritate it and who's not, who's pretty much going to help nurture this purpose, This also comes down to being a helpmate. I know what my attributes are, and I know what I can contribute to the person that God ordained for me to have, or for whoever. So when you know yourself and you know these things, you do know your circle. It's not you don't get as many Judases, because you know who you are, and you can kind of decipher, this person's not really going to be concise to, me getting to where I need to be, and Denzel Washington said this. He said, those who can do, those who can't talk about those who can. You've been around someone that just stay a hater? They stay talking about the same person over and over again, but they not doing a damn thing to get to where they need to be. Stay away from that person, because it's not a healthy environment for you. If you fall out with this person, they're going to do that same toxic stuff in your way. So, once you're able to know who you are, and that takes mental imagery, because everything goes down to mental imagery, who you want to be in life, going all the way down to your character, that takes mental imagery. And it's positive conditioning, because you're literally, I want to be kinder. You're going to look at videos, or going to be around people or mentors that's going to make you a kinder person, So, and yeah, I don't have everything, on point. Hell no. But I do know that I need certain people, and I need certain wisdom in order for me to get to it. No one's born knowing anything, and it's with wisdom, you're able to maneuver through life. You're able to probably live, for my case, I'll probably be able to live 50, 60 more years. That's my problem. But there's other factors in everyone's life. Everybody has something. But you have to be able to counteract it. In order for you to counteract it, you have to be able to see where you lack, what's your cons and what's your pros. And the only reason why you have your cons and your pros is because you have a goal. If you don't have a goal in life, you don't have a purpose in life, despair will set in at some point in time. And if you're not working towards it, I don't care if it's a baby step, I don't care if it's half a baby step, at least you doing it. At least I will give praise to anyone that's at least trying. It's okay for you to rest. It is not okay for you to give up. And I've been there. I've given up. And that despair, I don't wish that on nobody. Okay? I don't wish it on nobody. When you lose hope, it's like you grieve. And you grieve of the person that you should have been. And it's not easy to talk about, because it's too taboo. It's too cliche. It's too deep. But it's true, and everybody is susceptible to it. Everybody. If you're not working to your purpose, that means you're working on somebody else's purpose, or you're not working at all. And when it starts to creep in at night, it's 4 a.m. and you haven't done a damn thing to kind of get you where you needed to go. And I'm sorry for laughing, but I'm laughing at myself because I know where I came from. I know that ease, and it's not. I cry a lot, but most of the time, most people be thinking what I cry about, and they don't have no idea why. But it's the times where you don't cry. Those are the times when you worry. That's the time to worry. When that person's not crying, and that person, depression is not sadness. Depression is a smile. Depression is a smile. Because you have gotten so used to the grief that you now know how to mask it. Not cope, or healthy coping, but you learn how to mask it. I went through a lot of years, everybody thinking I had it all together. Everybody. And I didn't imagine. I dreamed. I did. I had mental imagery. I dreamed. But I didn't dream in detail. At all. I just knew I wanted to be something else. I wanted more. I wanted more for my life. And I didn't put any active planning behind it. And when you don't do that, you end up chasing everyone else to come fix something that you're grieving about. You're grieving yourself. I literally was at my own grave every day crying. In the inside. I smiled on the outside, but I cried every day of who I should have been, the person that I was hoping to be, that I wanted to be. And it never dawned on me, make a plan. Get up. God had to be the one to tell me, girl, if you don't get your behind up, little girl. And, at first, who wants to be reprimanded? Nobody. But I had to be. But God is not going to sit there and have a whip and be like, you did this and you did that. Shame on you. He doesn't prosecute you. He does everything through love. It's like, baby girl, you could be so much more. I just need you to realize that you're crying at an empty grave. You're not even in the grave and you're crying. You're crying about hopes and dreams and things that you should have, could have been. You should have, could have, would have. And they still there. They're with you. That little girl that you're crying about, that little beautiful, bubbly, full of light, 5-year-old little girl inside of you is still there. And you sitting there grieving over an empty grave. It ain't just time to go yet. You still got so much work to do. Let's go. And it took a lot for me to put all the elements of my imagination into a plan. Once you're able to go detailed with it, you go from macro to micro. And a lot of, I think anthropologists, they love doing that. They love studying from a macro level to a micro level. But once you're able to do it with a micro and you're able to decipher and, categorize everything and organize it, even though you are going to hit obstacles in the way, you are going to get people that are going to be your naysayers, your hate, however you want to say it. Look, those who can't talk about those who can, period. You're going to get those people. And sometimes it's the people that you love most. It's Aunt Patty or or whoever, the person down the block. It don't matter. At the end of the day, God told you, God rooting for you. God wakes you up every day. The fact that he woke you up every day, That man is saying, I'm rooting for you. Or that woman is saying, I'm rooting for you. I got you up, do the work. I got you. I'm holding your hand. I'm holding your right hand. I got you. And it takes faith. Whenever you feel weary, go back to that mental imagery. Go back to your imagination. Be a kid again. Realize that you are not in your own grave. You ain't down for a long time, sweetheart. Get up and let's get it. So, and I'm a big promoter of saying let's get it. Big time promoter of that. I see someone doing the smallest thing. Let's get it. Let's get it. So that small act of kindness, you never know how far it can get you. You don't know if somebody's grieving at their own grave. Remember, depression is grieving. Now, there can be a whole bunch of debates on what depression is. And do I know everything? No, I do not. I'm just going off of my experience and what the depression meant for me. I was literally grieving myself, and at times you do look back, but now it's more like you look back with not pride, but it's just like, God, look how far we gotten, and it's just like, yeah, girl, now, look forward, how we going now, so you don't stay there. But instead of me looking and staying there and staying at a empty grave, and it's now a nice little garden, it's just like whatever, I don't even think of it as a grave anymore. It literally is like, you gotta look at your history and your past like it's Hall of Fame. Not on a narcissist level, but you look at it as in, these are my battle scars. I am not ashamed of them, and I'm walking towards my purpose. And if I could help anyone, I could help one person, I don't care who it is, then I'm doing my purpose. I'm doing something, So be happy. Imagine big, but imagine detailed. That detail's gonna get you, okay? Now let's get it. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Love you and God bless. All right, bye.